Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the Panzer 58. It's a Tier 8 Swiss medium tank, although it's on the German tech tree. It's actually located on the northwest born of Mountain Pass, and it's under the command of PGTraitor of Havoc. Game on. Well, this tank has a 90mm gun. And the first prototype of the Panzer 58 did have a 90mm gun, but the subsequent tanks didn't. In fact, it was the only one with a 90mm gun, because the second tank actually had a 20-pounder, which is actually 8.4 centimeters. And the tank after that, in fact the next 10 tanks after that, which were the production tanks, actually had a 105mm gun, the L7A1, the British medium, well, the very good British rifle gun, which was tremendously accurate and very good value. Well, I just heard a rumble of Arty, so somebody is firing in this direction, and oh, gets hit in the track by that AMX 1390. Now it's a tier 9 game, he's tier 8 tank, so he's got plenty of opportunity to earn XP. Now they only built 12, as I mentioned, 2 prototypes and a 10 on the production run, and the Swiss built this tank because they, after the end of the Second World War, they only had Hetzers, Jagdpanzer 38Ts, and they needed a medium tank to complement the Hetzer because it was a bit long and old in the tooth. They only had a 75mm gun, so they actually looked around to see if they could buy a tank from any of the Allies, but unfortunately they couldn't because the Allies were actually engaged in the Korean War at the time. So the Swiss decided that they'd make their own tank, and so they started design work based on the pattern, the M47, but it's actually a cast hull and a cast turret with a rather nice gun. The 90mm was good, the British 20-pounder was even better actually because it was high velocity, and then of course the 105mm gun was even better still. Oh, he just took a round from the Barras 340. He doesn't want to get another shot, but I think that Barras is now reloading as he pulls back. Okay, has decent accuracy, it has high velocity shells, it's got pretty good mobility. Oh, now there goes the Barras, but unfortunately he didn't get the kill. It also has HE shells, which are capable of 90mm of penetration, so they're just as viable than the standard AP shells. So I can show you that here. You can see 250 alpha off the 90mm, 212 penetration, but the shell velocity is 1,150 meters per second. Just look at that HE, 330mm of pen. Is he going to go down into the bowl? He is. 90mm of penetration, but the same muzzle velocity. So these shells are really rather meaty. You don't have to lead the target much. You can fire them with the same confidence that they're acting like a sniper. Well, he certainly felt that, the Skoda, and the Skoda's worried now. He's backing away from one bunch and he's got somebody behind him, and now he's out the game. But the Jagdpanther managed to get around into us, and I suspect that was a 105mm because there was 361 hit points from the shot. Now it does have some drawbacks, this tank, because it's got frontal fuel tanks, and it does get set on fire quite a lot. It's also got fairly low hit points compared to other tanks, only 1,350, and that's for a tier 8. It is 35 tons in weight, so it's actually on the heavy side for a medium tank. So you can do rams, although considering you've got low hit points, it's probably not advisable unless you absolutely have to, like this. Well, he managed to size off another bit and got the kill with the next shot. And now we've got an ISU 152K, and he's just fired, so we fire one into his drive wheel. He fixes that with his repair kit, which now means he's vulnerable. But remember, he's got that big 152mm gun. He's tracked him again. This time round he's fixed there. He won't be able to pull away, and that means from now on we get good shots. Yep, he waited for it to fix, but it did fix fairly quickly. But now you can shoot into him and get good hits. Yep, we've got that one, but he's now loaded. So he's going to try to come forward and get a hit. Okay, go to the drive wheel. Yep, now he's stuck. and he can't fix it because he's still repairing his repair kit or cooling it down. That one went into the drive wheel again on the opposite side, and now he's a dead duck. There's nothing he can do, and from now on in, PGTraitor's going to have him harvest his hit points, and there he's out the game. Very well played that. Very well played. He didn't suffer a single hit point of damage from a tier 8 premium tank destroyer. Now it does have fairly mediocre turret armor, this thing, and it does have fairly low DPM compared to other tier 8 medium tanks. I suppose that's down to the fact that it's 90mm at tier 8. But the turret is also fairly large, and it's easily penned from the front, unfortunately. Okay, we've got an A phase 1 now. That's a tier 9 heavy, but he's got 4 sets of tracks, which means that he's a little easier to track. Now we're getting some help here because he just got hit from the T28 prototype. Now we need to help the prototype. Yes, that was a good hit. Now he's going to be a one shot if we can get another one in. Yes! Oh, we got the kill. Only 182, so I suspect the T28 prototype got around in just before we fired, and PGTraitor took the kill. Okay, so that's 5 kills he's got now. He's just one short for the Top Gun, and now he's off to try and kill that Jagdpanther and the 2 Arty. The Jagdpanther, obviously, it'd be nice to get him because after all he put a round into us. Now, even though the hull armor is cast, it's still pretty horrible in the game. And this tank is vulnerable to tier 6 mediums. Yeah, it can actually be damaged by things like Cromwells or Cromwell Bs and the like. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I suppose the best thing about it is it's a very mobile tank. Now, after they made these and they built them, they actually did a further upgrade, and they brought out the Panzer 61, and of course this is what all these became in the end, Panzer 61s. Okay, we found the Arty. Get rid of that GW. Oh, he's firing at somebody else, so now he's a reload, and this is just going to be an easy kill. There we go. And now we've just got to deal with the Jagdpanther, but unfortunately he's right up on top of this plateau. And that is a really dangerous ask, because you know that enemy tanks or tanks that are holding against the odds, they normally sit up here and blast away. But he's not looking at us at the moment. He just fired at our teammate and he took a round there, so it makes him a one shot. He's going to have to come forward. The Barask is going in for the kill, but it'd be nice if we did get the Top Gun when we killed the GW. It'd be nice if the Barask got the kill, because then at least we can survive the battle still alive. But of course you do that if you survive. Is he gonna... No, that Jagdpanther's holding back. He's not wanting to come forward. He knows he's in danger. Now, can we get a shot? Yes, we can. Nice. 253. It's a low roll. Well, actually, no, it's a high roll. What am I saying? 250 is the alpha. Now he's turned around. He's actually looking the other way. And that's the kill shot. Yeah, big mistake, because PGTraitor knew that he turned. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was the first ace tanker for PGTraitor in the Panzer 58. Yes, he got the scrolls underneath, and you only get that the first time, so very well done with your first ace. He also got a 5 for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In this one he got 6, a leather slaves medal for taking out 2 enemy tanks or tank destroyers in a battle which are at least one tier higher than him. And yes, he did take out the which one's the A phase 1, that was 1 tier higher than him. He took out the AMX 1390, that's 1 tier higher. And yep, everything else was at least 1 tier lower or the same tier. Anyway, let's have a look at the rest. He also got a Brothers in Arms for getting at least 3 kills and being in platoon with somebody else who got 3 kills, a High Caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, and he also got a Top Gun for getting the at least 6 kills in the game and getting the the most, because I only learned the other day when I really wasn't thinking about this, but you can only actually get a Top Gun under certain specific conditions. And although it says can only be obtained in random battles only, there are conditions as well to getting a Top Gun, and you have to get the highest XP, or at least the highest number of kills. Anyway, I'll read those conditions out sometimes. You might actually be interested in that. The win rate from that battle, 9,904, which is high Super Unicum. Very good indeed. Let's have a look at team score and see where he is. Well, he definitely got the highest damage in the game, 3,740. He wasn't the only player who managed to get over 3,000 hit points, because the IS-32 also managed to get 3,212, but of course he didn't survive. And the third highest damage in the game went to the Barask on his own team, who also got the Brothers in Arms at 2,550. When it came to kills, yep, he got the highest number of those, with 7, just one short of getting the Radleys. And 3 kills went to his platoon mate, the Barask, and then 3 kills went to the IS-32, the A Phase 1, and the Jagdpanther on the enemy team, and they got Pascucci's medals and Halonen's medals between them. And when it came to base XP, yes, he definitely got that one, because he was the only one to get over 1,000. He got 1,550, which means that this is quite a high ace tanker, really. A very good result. 958 went to the Barask, and 833 went to the TNH T-Viz 51. He fired 27 rounds in that game, got 21 direct hits on the enemy and 18 penetrations. Damage of 3,740 hit points. He received 5 hits, 2 of them penetrated, 3 non-penetrations. Yes, you're quite lucky about that. I think some of those were track shots. And 1 hit by way of splash damage as well. 1,110 hit points of damage blocked by armor. He spotted 3 enemy vehicles, damaged 7 of the enemy, killed 7 of the enemy, and also got 421 hit points of damage assist. He earned 109,610 credits from the game, but he did spend an awful lot on premium ammo in that game, and so consequently he ended up with only 19,986 credits profit. But then again, he did get good results, and I suppose if you are trying to get your first ace tanker, you do want to use the premium ammo to increase the chances that every shot is going to count. 2,325 XP times 2 for the first victory, 2 to the T3 for this being a premium vehicle, and took away 4,883 experience points altogether. He says Panzer 58 embracing risky. Well, yes, he was embracing risky, he was taking chances, but he did it very well, especially that ISU 152K. That was the textbook on how to take down a tank destroyer with a pointy end, which is, it's always good to take down the pointy end, even if the pointy end is facing you, to take it down in such a way you don't actually suffer any damage. And he did that. He forced the guy to use his repair kit, and after that he just played with him until he can get him in a position where he could just blast those rounds through the drive wheel into the hitbox. Anyway, let's have a look at the first we'll have a look at the armor. Now, I did get a request, an odd request the other day, and actually I will take this into account because I know some people actually do need the information. On Tanks GG, you can actually look at the collision model, which is what we're looking at here. And this is basically the model which contains all of the objects that you can collide with, such as the tracks and the gun and the mantlet there. So you can see that the armor is actually fairly thin. It's not that thick on this thing. But there is another model you can actually have a look at, and that is the live model. And this contains the hitbox, which actually shows you, it's a bit garish, isn't it? Bit much, but this actually shows you where the hitbox is. And of course, the tracks are not the hitbox. If you hit those, all you do is track the person. You don't actually damage them. If you hit the gun, you get a critical hit, but it's not really part of the hitbox. So therefore, you're not going to get any hit points off it. But if you hit this model here, yes, you will get damage on the hitbox, because this shows you where it all is. And I think you can see here the lower plate is 60mm, but it actually, with the effective angle, it's very well raked. Actually comes up at 130 or 100 about 120, 130. The upper plate is slightly, well, it is a cast turret, you can cast hull, and so you can see that although it's 120mm, because of the rounding, you're actually getting a better chance of bouncing the shells from that, but it is still fairly thin. And at tier 8, rounds are going to go through 100mm. You can see the drivers sitting behind those viewports there. You've got a fairly good chance of penetrating that cupola. It's only 40mm, so yes, it is vulnerable from the front. If a shell hits this side of the turret though, it's going to ricochet off. That side, yet the same. The really places that you've got to aim for if you want to get a pen, if you've got the right penetration, is actually down near the mantlet, but not actually into the mantlet, where it's only 137 effective armor after the impact armor being 120. If we look at the sides of the vehicle, we can see it's 30mm, so again, vulnerable on the hull. Same on the turret, it's only 65mm, so if you can get the sides of the turret, it's better. And the rear of the vehicle, again, is light, 40mm, and the engine cover only 15mm. So these tanks are vulnerable to Arty shots landing on the engine deck. The rear of the turret is vulnerable as well, 40mm thick, that's all you're going to get. So these things are vulnerable. And we'll go back to the collision again, so you can see how it's graduated up the armor as you move up the vehicle, so you're getting less armor protection. It's really designed in such a way as to try and make rounds bounce off the frontal armor. I think that's what they were trying to do, and they were trying to put as little weight into the vehicle as they could, because after all, it's a Swiss tank, so it's going to be going up and down hills all the time, or mountains, and well, not all the time, but it's certainly going to be having to go up and down hills. And the more weight you're actually carrying, the more difficult it is to do that. So you're putting more strain on the engine. So ideally, you want to have as light a tank as it can to move about inside Switzerland, which is, after all, just a country mainly of huge mountains and valleys where everyone is located, or most people are located. But it's an interesting tank nonetheless, in the German tech tree, which is kind of weird, but I suppose that's because most of, or quite a bit of Switzerland does actually talk German. There you go. So that's the collision model. We've had the live model. Let's have a look at the modules. Okay, well, driver up front, sitting in the center. He's sandwiched between two ammo racks and two fuel tanks either side of him. So very easy to get a bang. You remember the armor here is not particularly thick. It's I think, if I remember correctly, it's around about the 120, 130 millimeters thick at that particular point, but and the lower plates, you remember, you could penetrate that, but the ammo racks are half below the lower plates and half above. So yes, that's good. These two are probably going to be difficult to hit. You're probably easier to hit these two tanks here, but there is another ammo rack you can hit in the bustle, and you know that's very easy to penetrate the sides there because it's only 65 or thereabouts. There's another ammo rack on just underneath the gun as well. The loader is on the right hand side of the tank, which is unusual, but I suppose it's the modern British layout, with the loader on the right, the gunner on the left, and the tank commander sitting directly behind the loader with the radio behind him. Fuel tanks at the back, there is one, but it's only on the right hand side as we're looking at it, and the engine seems to be over to one side of the vehicle with the transmission directly behind it, so rear wheel transmission. No answer to why it's rear wheel. I suppose that's because you'll probably get better sliding as you're going down the hills. I know rear wheel drive cars tend to slide better than front wheel ones, but there you go. Anyway, so that's the module layout for the Panzer 58. So I hope you enjoyed that first Ace Tanker replay from PGTraitor. If you did, please give the video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And please do let other people know that this channel exists, because apparently not many people do know we exist, even though we're rapidly approaching 8,000 videos. Yes, that's more than Jingles and Quickie Baby combined. And yeah, we've got an awful lot of videos, and well, I suppose we've catered to our members to let them know, and of course other people have come on board. They've seen our videos, they've actually sent in replays, and they've had their videos done, and some of them have actually become members of What Arty Noobs afterwards. But as you all know, at the moment we're sending all the revenue from this channel to help the refugees in Ukraine, by sending the money to the Red Cross, so they can help them. So please do watch as many of our videos as you can, because the more videos that get watched, the more revenue is earned, and then that money is sent off to the British Red Cross so they can send it to the Ukrainian refugees. So thank you very much indeed for watching.